Welcome to the Design Dash podcast, your guide to designing a life you love. Join us as we explore the keys to living the life you want without compromise. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Design Dash podcast. I'm Melissa, and I'm here with Laura, and we are not going to talk about work today because school is back in session, and I think that that's the forefront of our minds, and having girls that are now tweens, mine's almost a teenager in a month, and just dealing with that because I think that sometimes we have work handled. It's now teenage girls that I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know what to do.
I don't know that I have work handled, but I definitely don't have 12-year-old twin girls handled. So I don't know about our listeners if they have any experience with preteen, tween, teen girls. But Melissa and I both between the two of us, have 3 12-year-olds. Like Melissa said, she's about to have a 13-year-old. And it is a whole situation. And so we talk about this a lot, actually, between the two of us. Like, probably our kids would die of embarrassment if they knew how much we talk about them.
That's what
but we do talk about it a lot because I think they're not the same. Like, every kid is totally different, but the stage of life is really tough, not just for them, but damn, for us, this is hard.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that this time was coming, right? Because I remember what I was like at this age, but Magnolia and I have always been so close, and now we're not. And I'm having a difficult time with it. I'm really struggling.
Talk about that a little bit, because I have 2 girls the same age, and so they're so different. So tell me from each other. But tell me about Magnolia. Oh God, she's going to kill us. She's going to kill us.
Very close. I mean, I think even to a point where Luke was starting to feel like he was left out, of course, because we didn't have Hollis until just 3 years ago. So for the longest time, it was the Melissa and Magnolia show, and I adored it. I loved having a good friend like that, because my mom and I are close now, but I don't know if we were as close as like Magnolia and I are. And so it was new to me, and I really loved it. And so I think that now the shock of her closing her door in her bedroom, like, if I'm busting into her the shower, like the other day, she was just like, "Mom, don't look at my body." So I'm just like, like, what? Now we're getting to this. And so, yeah, it's just really tough. I see her. She has a very strong group of girlfriends, so I know that she's supported. I guess like my fear is that she wouldn't be, right, or that maybe she's isolated in some way, because I remember just like the bullying of 7th grade, like feeling like your friends don't like you, and then the next moment they're obsessed with you, right? Like that just constant change. But she's gotten to a point now where she doesn't divulge as much, so I don't know what's going on in the same way that I used to. And I think that's the toughest part. I don't know how to support her because I don't exactly know where she is.
I know. I think it's the, not secrecy, but it's the independence, which of course we want to foster. We want these strong, independent girls, but not independent from us, like just from everyone else. I think I definitely see this similar to Magnolia. Like Livy is very, she's become closed off. She closes her door, and she also has that very strong group of friends, which is great.
That's great.
Especially one, she has a bestie that they talk nonstop every day.
Magnolia too.
Yeah. So they're really close. And Livy is, and I don't know that my girls would even argue this because they're twins, but Livy's just my more mature twin. So same age, but they're very different. And so it's like, how do you handle that when Ryan is very much like, she's still my bestie, and she still snuggles, and she wants to talk about everything. Liv doesn't want to talk about much, and I have to really pull it out of her. And so then it's that balance of how much it's like sometimes banging your head against a wall. Like, she is like a brick wall. So how much do I push her? Because I do get some information, And then how much do I just like step back and trust and like let her come to me? I don't know the answer to this. We need a child
I
psychologist to
either.
come
I
in.
think I'm still figuring it out because this is a very recent change. Like
Yes.
even
Yeah.
as soon as like as recent as 3 months ago, I think
Yeah.
that it would have been very different. But now I think there's something about that seventh grade change,
Ugh.
where she is getting more independent, which is great. I want her to be. What I don't want is for her to suffer alone because I know I did that when I
Oh,
was at that age. I just
I
felt like,
know.
I mean, my mom is not American. And so a lot of these things that happen to an American teenager, my mom never experienced that and didn't
Mm,
know how to handle it. But I do. And so I want, I mean, to an extent, I mean, everybody's unique, right? But so I think that's the thing that
yeah.
really gets me
Like
the
you feel like
most.
you're prepared to help.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And what I think,
you understand where she is. You went through it.
and I
Yeah.
hope I can sense when she's in trouble, or when she's confused about something to the point where she does need some help. We haven't gotten there yet, but um, I don't know. I know that
It's
we'll get
coming.
there. We'd like to thank our good friends at Monogram Appliances. We've partnered with Monogram for over a decade with our design firm, Laura Design Collective, and we're so happy to partner with them in producing the Design Dash podcast. Monogram sources the highest quality materials for their appliances, from commercial grade stainless steel to unscratchable sapphire glass. Monogram ensures lasting beauty and unmatchable quality for your luxury kitchen. And not only that, but they have an amazing team who we love working with, and we know you will too. So thanks, Monogram.
I think seventh grade is such a transition. And my mother was just a very young mother. So she was 21 when she had me. And I feel like she was just she didn't really know and maybe my kids feel the same. They probably do about me. Like I
Sure.
don't know enough about their lives. It's like, she doesn't understand me. She has no clue what's going on. She probably did. I don't know. I feel like I completely understand what's going on with them. And so I can just shed some light, which of course they don't want to hear at all.
Worse.
Um, that doesn't stop me from imparting all my wisdom. And it's just brute force. I try to do it with some finesse. Sometimes I'm not successful, but I think so. I'd love to know from you. So I know you said she's getting distant, or not distant. It's just a different relationship. And
Yeah,
you
it's
guys were like the Melissa Magnolia show. So how are you still trying to connect? How are you connecting? Like, if it's not brute force, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, now we're just trying to do some things that are one-on-one. I think it's also tough for her too because her little brother is 3 and needs so much attention, but he's
Yeah.
also really loving. So sometimes he's just a little bit more pleasant to hang out with because he's a lot.
What, you mean a teenage girl is not pleasant? What?
So, before school started, I took her to a concert. Like we went to like a real concert, not like a Miley Cyrus type of, kids. Who am I talking about? Hannah Montana. Not like
Yeah.
like a
I
kid.
don't know that Miley's so kid anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, I think she's more of an adult. Like like kid concert. So we went to go see
Yeah.
Vacations in San Antonio. So it was like a little day trip for us. I planned some things that I thought that she would like. Like we went to a nice restaurant. We went thrifting and got amazing T-shirts. They have amazing thrift stores there.
Yeah, that's
Had
cool.
much better luck in San Antonio than I do in Houston. Could just be because it's older. I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I mean, like, and the thing was, we had an amazing time. Like, we had a great time at the show. Like, I like to sing and get crazy at shows, and she, of course, is very subdued now, being a teenager. So I don't think that she was into that too much. But we just had a fantastic time, and we're best friends. And then we came home, and it was just like, don't ask me. So I think that I try to like do something one-on-one and make it about her, and I think she does appreciate it. But then she gets back into her, regular tween self. What about you
Yeah.
and your girls?
I mean, so we went this weekend, and I should try one-on-one with them more. It's
Is it
not
hard because they're
easy.
twins?
It is hard. And so they do need separate attention, and they're very different, and they communicate in very different ways. But I need to make more of an effort to do that separately with them. We don't do it as often as we should. Like we do, Liv and I will go to Denver because she has scoliosis. And so we have to drive to Denver, and we've got to get her checkup. And so we do make it like that's a mom and daughter time.
Yeah, you can make them.
yeah, so we try to make a fun situation out of a scoliosis doctor trip. But we do need to do more one-on-one. It's just easier logistically to take them together. So like this past weekend, we went and got they wanted ears pierced. They wanted their ears pierced. And so we made it a whole thing. And so I got another piercing and they got their ears pierced. And so that was really fun because they felt grown up.
No, yeah.
Yeah. And so they felt like they got double piercings. So 2 on each side. And so they felt very avant-garde with their double piercings. But yeah, like live music, I think is a touch point for us too. We always have music in the house, always. Like Michael is sharing his love of hip hop, 90s hip hop. And so Ryan can probably give you Lil Wayne's entire catalog. But yeah, so we always have music. So we are going to Jazz Fest this weekend, Jazz Labor Day here in Snowmass. And so it's a 3-day festival. And Michael and I went last year and we really missed having the girls there because we want to share that with them. And I'm still like, I still regret that we didn't take them with us because we all love Foo Fighters and they were the headliner and it was an amazing show. Yeah. But this year we're taking them with us. We are making it a whole weekend situation. Yeah, so we're going to go see some really badass live music all weekend with them. That's cool. Of course, their friends are going to be running around everywhere because everyone that's local goes to this show. So I'm going to have to try to drag them away from friends a little bit. Aside from that, we do family dinner at least 4 nights a week. We sit down at the table together and have that conversation.
I'm better about doing that. I'm terrible about doing that.
We do. Michael is really good about it. He grew up with a very tight family unit, doing dinner almost every night. My family did not do that. I didn't. So that's so important to him. It was very formative for him. And so he wants to impart that to our daughter. So we do family dinner 4 nights a week. Although when we cook salmon, Ryan gets pissed because she hates fish and we make her sit there anyway. And she just sits there with her shirt over her nose.
Yeah, I need to get better about family dinners. Like I'm really good about Sunday dinner, but but like today, I mean, Magnolia's not going to come home until after 6. She won't, right? And Hollis is going to bed at 8. So it's just really hard to make that time.
You have a 3-year-old. Yeah. I mean, that's hard. With us.
Yeah, he doesn't want to sit down, really. Not yet. He's getting there, but he's still hard. He's a fidget.
Yeah, he's not interested in sitting for anything. I think the girls, like, since we've done it for so long, now they know this is happening. And they do try to rebel against it some, but we're like, nope. Yep. Sit your ass down. We're having family dinner.
Well, so much damn homework. But I was like, what? Like, so we went to the beach over the weekend. Again, like trying to do something special, like just as a family. Like our members of our family have a beach house. And so it's kind of nice to be able to go there anytime you want and just chill out and get outside of the norm. But she had 2 tests on Monday. So she's like sitting at the beach with her books out. And I'm just like, you don't need to be studying for that. But I don't know if I set a good example because sometimes, that's why I try not to work so much outside of work. So, like she's watching, and she was so annoying about it. She's like, "I have to study for this test." It's like, no, you don't. It's gonna be fine.
Study? Come on.
No, she ended up getting. 2 quizzes. She did awesome. I think she got a 95 and 100. So I don't know. Maybe the studying did help.
She's a good student. Yeah, I think my main approach is I'm not trying to be their best friend. I'm trying to be a parent. I am being a parent. But I'm kind of bridging that gap between being like that mean girl's cool mom. I'm a cool mom. And being just like this disciplinarian 24/7. So it's a hard place to live.
Become more of a disciplinarian because I think it was easier, when she was more of my friend to be a better, like a better parent, like it was easier to say, well, you better do this. Now I'm just like, did you feed the cats? You better feed them, and then I feel
nag all the time.
Yes, I feel like a nag. So I'm just like, maybe I need a different approach, but it used to be like, she didn't need that much repetition before. So I think that's the other part that's hard too, is that like, this parenting style that I was so comfortable with before that created this amazing child doesn't work anymore. And now I don't know what to do.
And it feels really sudden.
Yeah.
So do you guys call family meetings? Do you have family meetings?
No, 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 no. No, I'm too disorganized for that. No
No,
way.
we call a family meeting. Like if shit's getting out of control and it's getting real, we're like, family meeting time.
Oh,
Everyone bring your agenda. We're sitting down together and we're discussing because we clearly need to set some expectations here.
what are you guys talking about? What's on your agenda?
A lot of time it centers around screen time
Um,
because
sure.
I find that if they have too much screen time, their personalities change and they
Yeah,
become
no, I agree.
they become monsters. They're like little
Very irritable.
screen addicts. And so a lot of times it's resetting rules and expectations around screen time and how we interact as a family. Um, that's the biggest thing, I think. And then also expectations around them managing homework, because I'm sure everyone that has kids deals with this, where they drop a major project on you at like 8 p.m. the night before it's due. They should have been working on this thing for a month and they're like, oh no. And then they're freaking out and crying. And I'm like, holy crap, I've got to deal with this right now. So it's mostly around like logistics, but also having like major conversations like, hey, we're going to talk about these things. We're going to talk about peer pressure and we're going to talk about how to get out of situations you don't want to be in. And you may not be experiencing them now, but we're talking about them now for the future and we're going to repeat this. So like you get into a situation that is beyond your control that you don't feel good about, but you're embarrassed to tell your friends that you don't feel good about it. This is how to handle that. So that kind of stuff. But yes, we call family meetings.
No, we can never get that organized, I think, to do a family meeting.
God, I don't know. I don't know how else to do it. But we also give them a heads up about it. We're like, hey guys, tomorrow at 6 p.m., we're having a family meeting. So that way they can get their minds right. We try not to spring it on them.
No, Luke and I just busted in her room and watched out.
How's that go?
I mean, fine. But you also, like, we've also introduced, I think, some pretty adult themes to her pretty early on.
Yeah.
Just what Luke does. So she's really mature.
Can you explain for people that don't know, what does Luke do?
Well, so my husband's a criminal psychologist. So he just, I think that he just becomes very flippant about the kind of serious nature with the things that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
So I mean, not to get into anything, but like sometimes he'll deal with a stalker, he'll deal with a murderer, he'll deal with something, like overly emotional or just like the extreme of human behavior. And I mean, we've been talking to Magnolia about that since she was maybe 4. So I don't know if that's healthy. That's probably, I wouldn't recommend that for other people. She's been able to handle it pretty well.
I mean, the girls and I have found a common love of true crime podcasts. So I kind of feel like they're getting some exposure to that as well. Not the same as you. And I probably should not be letting them listen to that. There are some that I skip over.
Well, but I mean, I do some of the adult stuff like Magnolia and I, this would have been like 3 years ago. We were both watching BoJack Horseman, which is a very adult cartoon.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Her absolute favorite thing, and one of mine too. I think it's one of the best TV shows ever made. And I just loved watching that with her. Maybe she'll watch that with me again now that she's a little bit older. She shouldn't have been watching it when she was 8 or 9, but so good.
When I go out of town, Michael does inappropriate movie night. So things that I won't let them watch, and they're not that highly inappropriate. It's stuff that's like, I don't know, things that I have deemed inappropriate.
It's not like Cannibal Holocaust or Salo.
Oh my God. No, it's like, oh gosh, like Deadpool.
Oh, sure.
Like Deadpool with like gratuitous cursing and gore. And he's like, inappropriate movie night. We're watching Deadpool, and they think it's the best thing ever.
It's cool.
So I think just going back to like, that's how we as parents are winging it and connecting with these preteens.
I tell Magnolia now, I'm just like, you have to understand, this is my first time being alive also. So
that's a good
I'm
point.
still just figuring it out. And I think too, like now that, I'm 40, I had a lot more compassion for my mom. So I still feel really, really young, right? But when my mom was 40, I felt like she was really, really old. And she had me when she was 25. So like, I mean, I was, in my teens when she was this age.
And she's a young parent. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just felt like, oh gosh, she has all the answers until I was a teenager. I was like, oh, she doesn't know shit. But the thing is, like, maybe that's how Magnolia is feeling now. It's just like, oh, so she doesn't know
Absolutely.
everything. And then I tell her, I was like, no, I really don't. Like, I'm
I know
so
we're being much more forthcoming, I think, than our parents were. We're just like, we really don't know
yeah,
the
no, my
answers.
parents were just like, just you got to listen to me. I'm your parent. That
And
was
some of the
just that kind of feeling. And I'm like,
sometimes we do say that. Like, we have had experience with this. Like, we really have gone through this. So we can shed some light on this for you. Do we know
yeah,
everything? No. That is clear.
yeah, no, I
But
mean,
all
like
the mistakes we make.
bullying or like the constant like FaceTime group texts with the entire class. No, I can't even imagine what that would be like, because I think sometimes that can go off the rails a little bit.
Horrific.
The broader
Actually,
themes we understand, I think.
that's a good point. So, a good thing to talk about, which is social media. So my girls not really live as much, but Ryan is, she's involved in a lot of school clubs and like nonprofit. She does a couple nonprofits. And so she wants to be involved in social media so she can keep up with those things.
Sure.
That's what she says, at least. So she's been jockeying to get Snapchat, which I didn't realize was still a thing, as well as TikTok. And I'm telling her, absolutely not going to happen. We can discuss that later. But what is your stance on social media with Magnolia?
So I love TikTok. So we look at TikToks together all the time. She's in
Together.
restricted, which, and so she'll share some TikToks with me. She's still a little bit immature. That's fine. I'm sure some things get through, but I'm just like, well, that's life. But what I've tried to do is just make it seem really uncool, because that's been my job for 15 years. I'm just like, this is so lame. Like, do you really want to go to Instagram and like put your hand on your hip and go to brunch? Like, no, you really don't. It's not cool. And so I think that that's really worked, because she would never participate. Like, she would never like post on her own.
Yeah.
That could change. That could change over time, but that's worked for me.
That is a really interesting approach. I haven't heard that before.
When she was a little kid, we would go to the store and she would like want gum or candy. I'd say, oh, you don't want that. That's for cats. Like, you don't. That's
oh my God, Melissa.
They're going to have like the worst anxiety. I'm just such a gaslighter. It's really bad.
Okay, well,
want it, so
everyone, you just say it's for cats and they won't want it.
Yeah. Is it for you?
I'm just telling her, like, Ryan, because Liv doesn't really ask about social media, but maybe she's managed to like sneakily download it, and that's why she doesn't talk about it. But Ryan is pretty open with everything, and I think generally a little more of a kid than she's less mature. But I'm just telling her, like, I'm not ready. You're not ready. Like, you don't need that. Why do you need it? They do have Instagram accounts, but I post with them. So we sit and we look, and they talk about like, this is what I want to show. Like, I want to show that I went to camp and I have all my friends. And so we talk about that, but nothing else.
No,
see, it's not cool.
Consume whatever you want to, just don't share a thing.
We talk about what not to share and what not to ever allow. Ever. Like, I don't care how in love with that boy you think you are. Trust me. You aren't, first of all. Second of all, never allow the X, Y, and Z. And we talk about that a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
gosh, give examples.
I'll try to introduce that to Magnolia. She's like, oh, please, I don't want to talk about this at all.
Oh, no, girl. I'm just like, look at my face. We were talking about all of it. We are having this talk, so get ready. And that's family meeting night. Anyway, everyone, this is all unprofessional advice on what to do with your teenage kid.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's the thing.
We don't know.
I don't know. It's very much like when we talk to people like, hey, look, what's your work-life balance? And everybody's like, I don't know. Like, I would love to find those parents who are just like, everything is perfect and awesome. My child is an angel from age 0 to 35. I've never met.
That is not real.
Anybody. I think you need to like to suck a while to gain some character too.
Yeah.
So.
Also, barf. That sounds terrible. I would love to know from anyone listening, how you were approaching the teen years if you have preteen or teenage kids. How are you doing this? And I know it's different for boys are different. Like my sister-in-law, I have two nephews that are 14 and 17. And it has, they have a lot of they have similar conversations, but they are different. Like having the conversations you have with boys are different. Not any easier, just different. So I'd love to hear from
you
everyone.
have conversations with the other parents at your girl's school?
100%.
And you guys are like trying to figure out, we had a conversation like this, before school started, like the moms in 7th grade, like we all went out for coffee. And I realized like some of us are pretty lax. Like I'm a fairly lax parent. I think it's because my parents were so strict. My dad was a Marine. So they were so strict. And I tried not to be. And Luke's a really good foil to that because his parents were hippies. And so
see, my parents were more hippies. Yes.
Yeah. So I tried to be really lax with it, but I realized in talking to these parents, just like, oh, some of these guys have some really big controls on things that like I don't control sometimes. Like one of the parent was telling me about YouTube and how her daughter was getting really into makeup tutorials. They're at that age, right? And so she was just like, well, let me enjoy this with you. I'll sit down and watch this makeup tutorial with you. And it seemed fine. She thought the makeup was a little skanky, but whatever, trends change. But what she didn't like was that this chick started taking out a banana and started eating it. And like she started to do all these other things that were a little bit sensational. And she's like, oh, maybe this video isn't really for kids at all, right? So now she said that she doesn't let her kids on anything. Like there's no Snapchat, there's no TikTok, there's definitely no YouTube. And she really limits their tablet use. And I think to myself, like, man, yeah, that's bad to a degree, but I don't want to take everything away from her because of that. And then I think that's a challenge also. And then, there's some of the parents that I talk to and they're like, yeah, no, I mean, my kid's watching all sorts of things. Like, I don't know. And their kids are great, right? But maybe they're troubled. I don't, they're like,
I'm kind of in the middle.
With softcore porn.
I mean, or straight porn, because let's be real, they can get to anything on pretty much any device. So, I'd say at this age, at 12, they're familiar with most concepts. I don't encourage YouTube. And in fact, we did take YouTube. We put restrictions on their devices for a long time. Do they have them now? No, because they know the code to get into everything. And I just gave up. Like we change that damn code like once a month and they figure it out. They're brilliant, like code crackers. I don't know. They figure it out. I mean, I generally keep an eye. I feel like I keep an eye on what they're doing, but I know they do so much that I can never keep up with. I just can't. And so I treat it more high level, like again, going back to just like having those open conversations with them and knowing, because at that age I was watching who knows what I was watching. And I was watching it on freaking HBO without streaming. So, or Showtime, like whatever we had back then, because you want to know.
Yeah, you're curious to push the envelope a little bit.
And for sure, they have access to way more than we did. But I think it's probably you're fooling yourself if you think it's not possible for them to figure it out. And so I just have more open conversations and try to control.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And Michael does the same thing. Like we can't keep them away from everything. We just can't.
No, and I don't want them to be like 25 and then surprised that this, what?
I don't think there's any danger of that, Melissa. I don't think they're going to be 14 and surprised, like at this rate. But we're just like, I believe in giving kids freedom. And I was semi-latchkey kid. And they are too, I mean, not really, that's a lie. But they do have e-bikes and we let them go. Like they can take it. We live in a resort community though. So let's be real. We're not living in an inner city. So they have an e-bike and they can take it up to the base. They can go to their friend's house. So we give them that freedom, but they can't go into Aspen without us knowing. But plus their bikes aren't going to make it back and they sure as hell aren't riding uphill. But like last week, Liv took the bus with her friend to town after school to get boba and then took the bus, like the city bus, back to the friend's house and I picked her up there. And it's like giving those kinds of freedoms. And I think they feel really they feel good about that. And I'd rather grant that than them sneak. I don't want them sneaking.
Me neither, because I did that, and I don't want
I
that
did
to
too.
happen to my
I
child.
did too. And they're going to sneak if you don't give them some freedoms.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
They're going to sneak anyway, but hopefully.
If
I
they're
just tell
safe.
them, like, try to make good decisions. Like, are you doing something that you feel guilty about or that you feel like is sneaky? I don't know if that's like so bad, but if you're doing something that you're going to get hurt doing, that's not right. So think about that. Like, is this going to hurt you or someone else?
I think too, they also have a lot of information about that kind of stuff as well, about safety and harm reduction in a way that like we didn't growing up, because it was very much just about abstinence from everything, I feel like,
God, I
in
know, it's
adulthood.
terrible.
And now it's more so, be selective, like have some kind of adventure, be independent, but know the information behind it.
Yeah, we're big about that. Like we even talk about fentanyl or however, whatever that is, like just like drugs being laced. And no, you're in 7th grade. Like they're not taking drugs. I hope. I know they're not. But at some point, that's going to be in front of them. And so we just scare the shit out of them with it. That's my approach. It will kill you.
Yeah, absolutely. The smallest amount. And that was the thing. They had a fentanyl presentation at school, and some of the parents were like, I don't want my child to be exposed to that. And I was like, well,
What do you mean? They will be
now, or like 3 years from now when they're like, ooh, that cocaine sounds fun, but it's fentanyl laced, So I don't know.
And we talk about like, people who have close loved ones who have died from this. You firsthand know people. This is real. It's not abstract. This happens. So we have those kind of serious conversations, and I'm probably traumatizing them by scaring the hell out of them. I know I am. I've been doing it since they were young. So that, yeah, they're going to have a lot of trauma. Anyway.
Yeah. But, that's what therapy is for. And so, that's what they can do.
Totally. Therapy, for those of you who go to therapy, I highly support that. I'm more about coaching because like, I don't like to be introspective too much.
Oh.
I like coaching because then I'm looking at, okay, how can I avoid the trauma in the past and just look at it like accomplishing things?
Oh, well, yeah.
I know you don't agree with that, but that's what I do.
I have an avoidant attachment. I'm a very avoidant person, but I'm going to therapy so I can fix that.
God, good for you. I've been fired by a therapist.
Really?
I don't share. I'm not an open person.
You weren't the right fit. Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, it's taken me 20 years to finally deal with some traumas that I put myself into a long time ago. But it has been helpful. So,
okay. Well,
I mean, I'm married to a psychologist. Like I have to be okay with therapy.
Totally. And Magnolia is going to be with her therapist in 10 years going like, my father is a criminal.
He has one. You talk about that right now.
Well, I hope this has been helpful for everyone listening, dealing with preteen girls and teen girls without knowing what the hell we're doing.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And clients, it's also dealing with and raising our children. Like that's
not dealing with. That's the wrong way to put it. Oh, that sounds terrible.
Dealing with your tantrums and raising her into being a good human. Like there's both there. And of course, enjoying her and having fun when she'll let it happen.
But also forced fun. We're going to a
forced fun. It works
festival.
Though. Forced fun works.
Yep.
Forced fun works.
That's what we're taking from this whole thing. Forced fun.
It does. It works. Even as an adult.
Have fun. All right. Thanks for joining. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and follow and get notifications, set for notifications, because there is all kinds of useful insight coming right at you. Thanks, everybody.
Next time.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out our next podcast, coming live next week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, you can find us and more wonderful stories like these on DesignDash.com. And make sure to follow us at Design Dasher on Instagram and TikTok. Till next time.